It's another Two Joes podcast. Welcome, listeners. On the line today, I have Mojo, my good buddy and co-host. Say hello, Mojo.
Welcome, welcome. Good to be here again. And thanks again for getting me out of my house for a little while. So always such a welcome thing. Have you had a chance to get out or a reason to get out?
No, I went for a walk the other day with my daughter, but other than that, I have not been anywhere.
Well, that's one of the safest things you can do. And, you know, you get out in the sun, get some fresh air, and I know COVID-19 does not like the sunlight, so and that's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's funny, though, how this thing just takes over everything, and it gets inside your head. And so my daughter and I are sitting there walking down the sidewalk, and here comes this little kid on his scooter, you know, cruising down, and we have to get off the sidewalk so we can go by. But, you know, he's less than 6 feet from us. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, my gosh, has he got COVID-19? Is he going to give it to me? So it's so, what's the word? It just... I don't know. It's like there's no defense against it. Yeah, it's just it's everywhere. So it's all you think about, and it gets in the crannies of your brain, and yeah, it's just so compelling.
Well, you know what's kind of amazed me a bit, Main Joe, is how this thing's essentially brought the country and the world to a standstill in many respects. You know, not entirely, but I don't need to be absolute. But, you know, yesterday I had to go out and get some groceries, and I'm walking around one of the local big chain grocery stores, and I was amazed at the number of moms and dads that had, you know, 2, 3 of their kids with them. And, you know, they're grabbing cereal and candy bars and bringing it and then putting it back when mom says they can't have it. Yeah. I'm thinking, you know, this has brought the world to a standstill, but people don't seem to still be taking it universally seriously. You know, I didn't say that quite right, but, you know, it's kind of surprising.
It is, yeah. Some countries are getting you know, upset about it. I saw a couple of clips. I forget who it was from, Colbert. Maybe it was on Seth Meyer, where these mayors in Italy were like screaming at the camera at their citizens to stay indoors. This is not a game. We're not playing here.
Yeah.
Did you see some of those clips where that one guy says, if you guys have a graduation party, the cops will be there with flamethrowers?
Yeah. I first saw that on John Oliver Sunday night.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. That was some.
How do you get it across to the people that this is not a game? We're not playing. I guess that's one way to do it. I don't know.
Well, you know, not even that works. You know, this, he's a blowhard. He doesn't mean it. They're not going to roast people alive. But one thing you can do, and I'm not sure if this is in India or Italy or where I saw this, but the most strict measure I saw was you get caught out there and you're not either going to the grocery store or the pharmacy, you can get a $5,000 fine on the spot. So that could wake some people up. You know, it's a few hundred people get a $5,000 fine, and either you're going to have rioting in the streets, which again would be illegal, or people will start taking this seriously. And if they go grocery shopping, leave their kids at home if you can, you know, or, you know, maybe leave your kids in the car. I don't know. What's a good solution to that one? Main Joe,
well,
you're a single parent, or
here's a couple other things I saw in India. I guess the police were whacking people on the backs of the legs if they were out for no reason, or they were making them do squats.
Yeah, they made them do squats there in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I saw the same clip. Again, I think it was John Oliver, where
some
people were coming out of they were exiting a mosque. I believe they'd just done some worshiping, and as soon as they exited onto the staircase, there was a guy sitting there with a bamboo cane, just giving them a whack on the shoulder blade. You know?
Wow. Yeah, or the other thing you could do is like they're doing in New York and L.A. I guess they've got the camouflaged Humvees rolling down the streets.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, I got that from Joe Rogan. He was talking about it, but I haven't verified it yet. So he said a friend of his took a video in New York City of some armed Humvees and tanks rolling down New York City streets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll have to see if I can verify that. But yeah, I'll get the message across, I guess.
Yeah. It's got to be National Guard. That can't be regular Army.
No.
The Army is, Well, before we get too deep into our cast this evening, every day for the past couple of weeks, every day I go and scan and I look for some kind of glimmer of hope, and I didn't really see anything again. Like China is showing a decrease in number of hospitalized people, or Italy is really on the rebound. I'm waiting to see these headlines.
Right.
I'm just not seeing them yet.
Not yet.
Have you seen anything?
No, it's still early though. I think, it doesn't seem like it's still early in the whole thing, but it is.
Yeah. Where are we going now? Is this week 3? We just started week 3.
This is the third week of my daughter staying home from school. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so many people are getting it now.
Boris
Johnson and Cuomo, and Governor Cuomo's brother, Chris Cuomo. And I didn't know Chris Cuomo was Governor Cuomo's brother. I didn't put that together until I saw him talking with each other on a little YouTube clip. But he's got it now too. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah. And I know there were a couple of fairly notable deaths, again, about coronavirus. But, again, the vast majority of us will get through this just fine, and we're not really looking out for ourselves. We're looking out to make sure we don't spread it. That's really the number one thing.
Yeah, 2 of the headlines that caught my eye along those lines were a teen who died of COVID-19, and they're claiming that partly that was due to the fact that he was denied treatment because he didn't have health insurance.
Yeah, I read that headline too.
And then so on the way to the second place, where he's trying to go to an emergency room now, where theoretically they can't deny you treatment if you don't have health insurance, he went into cardiac arrest and didn't pull through. They also talked a little bit about an infant that died in Chicago, but there's not a lot of details in that one.
Yeah, and you got to think either the infant just didn't have fully formed lungs and immune system yet, or was born with some kind of a compromise, or who knows, was just born with a certain genetic makeup to make him or her susceptible.
Yeah, that's one of the things I heard from another. I can't remember where it came from, but this might have to do with genetics, like you just said. We just don't know enough still. Yeah. But it could be a factor. Well,
on the bright side, my niece is doing well.
I was going to ask about her.
She's still got a slight fever and some aches and pains, but she's assured her uncle that I do not feel life-threatening at all. I'm just she's staying home, not going out. She's having food delivered, and and I've assured her, if you do deteriorate, let me know. I'll be there. But she's just feeling like I don't even need to go get tested. This may or may not be COVID, but I'm not going to go contribute to, overwhelming a hospital. Right. Even though here in Utah, we're nowhere near like New York or Italy or places like that. But, she just doesn't feel that worried about it. And
That's
I think
great.
Good for you. Stay home, niece, and you'll be fine in another, let's see, she's been showing symptoms. So she's got maybe a week to go. Just like Donovan Mitchell and thousands, tens of thousands of others who have already recovered.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them with fairly mild symptoms. I mean, Tom Hanks is a diabetic, so I did worry about him a bit. But he and his wife are both now back in America, and I presume they're doing very well. Last report I heard.
Okay.
So I did want to talk about one thing that got my ire up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say this is nothing new. Certainly nothing new, but it takes on an extra pall or an extra darkness and ugliness because of this pandemic. And it's once again watching President Trump talk about how great his ratings are for his press conferences covering the virus. I'm just thinking, man, not only is he just bragging himself up again and being Mr. Narcissist egomaniac, but he's doing it in the middle of a pandemic.
It's just,
and that is just tasteless and
so
stupid, and it is just ridiculous. But it got me thinking. I've got to try and be open-minded that the very things Trump does that kind of drive me nuts, and I'll even use the word trigger. The things that Trump does that trigger me are the very same things that make his supporters love him. When he gets up and brags and talks TV ratings and how terrific he is in his administration, and he's a 10 out of a 10 in his response. Those are the very things that his supporters love about him. I don't get it, but that's the only way I can explain it. How anybody could support this guy. They like the things in him that I despise. So that's a tough one to try to find common ground on, at the very least.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of people out there are conspiracy theorists, and like when he suggests states are lying about how many ventilators they need, it's like, dude, what have they done that ever made you think that they're not giving you the straight scoop on what kind of supplies they need? Whereas you have constantly lied and misdirected the truth in all just countless ways. And now he has the gall to question whether or not the hospitals need as many ventilators as they say they need. It's just insane.
Yeah. And then he even went darker than that. It was saying, well, what's happening to all these supplies? Essentially implying, I can't remember his exact quote now, but implying, where are all these supplies going that we've been sending? Are hospital staff hoarding these things? They just seem to be disappearing. So it's, one of them, I think, Jimmy Kimmel made fun, saying, yeah, Mr. President, that's what's going on is these nurses will do an 18-hour shift and then go steal a bunch of masks because they're doing some welding at home or they're doing some belt sanding at home, and they need them for that,
Yeah. It's just crazy.
It
just makes me worried that these doctors and nurses and maintenance workers and all these people trying to keep our healthcare system rolling through this they're not going to get what they need from this president, man. And so what do you do?
Yeah.
I guess the states are going to have to figure it out themselves. And like the Governor Cuomo was saying, he's competing with other states for the supplies. They're outbidding each other. They're trying to, somehow they got to figure out how to work together and get the supplies to where they're most needed, and then work. I don't know what they're going to have to do, but they can't count on this president. That's obvious. He's going to accuse them of hoarding face masks and ordering too many ventilators. It's like
ordering more than they need.
Yeah,
I guess he wants to know. Yeah,
let's go to that guy for help.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I saw a really funny meme today on social media. Do you remember the Muppet Show back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
And, you would have that bald scientist in the lab coat who was always doing experiments.
Him and Beaker.
And then he had a Beaker. Yeah, his assistant Beaker. And so up top it showed Beaker next to this bald scientist, and Beaker's going like, beep, or, making one of his noises. Then right below that, and Beaker had orange hair and kind of orange skin, and right below that it showed Trump looking at Dr. Fauci right next to him. And it was such a great parallel.
That's funny. Boy, that's funny.
It was great. But, back on Trump, too, and this was not a video clip. I just overheard the audio. It's been played numerous times on YouTube, and it showed it. You could hear, I think it was the governor of either Montana or North Dakota, someplace, I forget. And, one of the less hard-hit provinces or states, if you will. And this governor spent about 20 or 30 seconds explaining very clearly the sort of situation they're in. And he said, I'll boil it down. He said, well, we've got enough tests for about another day or two, and then we're done. And we need more tests to find out where our centers are, and we've got to do trace contacting and all that kind of stuff. And we are just desperate to get more tests in here so we can stay ahead of the curve, so we can protect our population and not see the kind of outbreak we're having in New York and Seattle and places like that.
Right.
And then you hear Trump. Then Trump chimes in. Trump was on the call, and he said, well, this is the first I've heard of a shortage of tests. Are you sure? And that's when, oh my God. You've got to be kidding me. Trump's got to realize when he talks, he's talking to the whole world, because pretty much everything he says and does is recorded and broadcast. But he behaves as though he's just talking. Just the governor of North Dakota can hear his words. And it's like,
it's so crazy. I'm still trying to figure out why we're even bothering to listen to the guy. Why do we even care anymore? It's like, whatever, dude. Let's talk to Fauci. Let's talk to McConnell or Pelosi, someone who at least has some kind of cred. You know, this guy is just a walking lunatic. I mean, why are we even listening to him? Why do we care what he tweets about? Because it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
it's all about
it's just fluff.
How great, how awesome his response is, and his administration's on top of it. What a great job they've been doing, and
meaningless.
The stock market, you know, all of this. But you give me a good thought that might be a video we could put together that could go viral. It wouldn't be too hard. But do you remember the old Peanuts comic strip?
Yeah.
Probably brown and everything. And when they would do their cartoons that you would see, like Thanksgiving, you know, Great Pumpkin and the Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The only dialogue you could ever hear was the kids. Whenever they were talking to a parent or a teacher or a police officer or something like that, all you heard was like a trumpet sound, a wah 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 wah.
Yeah,
you know, remember that?
Sure.
So what we should do is put together a montage of a press conference just starting. And, you know, you got Dr. Fauci and Mike Pence and, you know, National Guard people, maybe the Surgeon General, but Trump's always the first one to talk. So he comes up there, and immediately we blur him out, and while he's talking, we just overdub it with wah 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 wah. And as soon as he leaves the podium and Dr. Fauci comes up to speak, then he's a normal guy. When he would just leave it there, and then every time Trump comes back, you blur him out, do the trumpet sound, and you know that has a chance to do some viral.
It wouldn't take away from the press conference at all. It'd be exactly the same.
It might, like Rachel Maddow said, it might be a good public service. Just don't cover whatever Trump is saying. Don't cover it. Cut away. You know, go to
go somewhere
commercial.
Go somewhere to where it matters. Yeah, wait for the next person, or go to a different interview with someone else. But yeah, the media gives him way too much coverage and way too much. I mean, and I realize he's the president, and you kind of got to cover the president, but when he's so detached from reality and what he says is hurtful and harmful to the public, what we're trying to do here, flatten this curve, self-isolate, social distancing, then what's the point? What are you doing? You're hurting us. I mean, I really try not to. I really try not to listen to too many videos with Trump in them. I mean, because I just can't take it. It's just meaningless to me. Why waste my time?
Well, you know, I heard Biden kind of come slightly to Trump's defense yesterday.
Really?
Where, it was surprising, but not that surprising. I should say not all that surprising. When Nancy Pelosi, I think it was Pelosi, who came out and said, point blank, Trump has blood in his hands. His press conferences have caused people to become infected and die, some number of people. And that may be true. In fact, I think it probably is true. But it's nothing you can measure. There's no way you can go out and say, okay, these people went out because Trump said it was going to be near zero here soon, and we've got a hold on this, and you know, and all that. This is like 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and it would not surprise me one bit if some people, the diehard Trump supporters, listen to him say, well, we've only got 14 cases, and we're going to have that near zero soon. And so they take that as meaning, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to go to church tomorrow then, or I'm going to go to my daughter's play, or whatever it is. Then they go out, get infected, bring it home, and grandma dies. So in that kind of indirect way, Trump might have some blood in his hands. But you can't measure that, and it just doesn't seem fair to label him as someone with blood on his hands. And that's what Biden did, is he was asked that question. Do you think President Trump has blood on his hands? He goes, no, I'm not going to go that far. He was essentially saying he's given some bad advice. He's obviously, essentially lied to make things seem rosier than they are. But there is a chance that some number, I don't want to say small or large, some number of people went out and contracted it and either died themselves or spread it to somebody who died because of Trump said it's under control, when clearly it was not.
It's quite possible, yeah. I mean, like you say, it's hard to prove. I don't know if it really makes any sense to go there and, really you can't really have much of a debate about it because there's so many variables you don't know. But did you see
So
that?
many.
Did
Yeah.
you see the governor of Kentucky get up there, and he was like holding back his furor because someone had a coronavirus party, and someone went to that party and contracted the coronavirus.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
think
I
this
did.
was a John Oliver clip too, and
Yeah.
he was
Yep.
loving the look on the face of the person doing the hand signals,
The sign language.
sign
Yeah.
language for the
That.
impaired. Yeah, that was so priceless. He was like, meme this
That's
woman
gotta
immediately. I almost want to get on Google and
immediately.
start trying to see if there's some memes that have been created with that look on her face, because it was pretty priceless. She's a legend. To Joe's salute to that lady. That was awesome.
Oh yes. Yeah. So it reminds me very much of a meme that was around like 10 years ago. And it was just somebody would put a quote from somebody else that was just so moronic and stupid. And then right below that is a picture of an old lady with, frizzy gray hair. And she's looking at the camera like that. The sign language interpreter looked at the camera with that look on her face. And then underneath it just has a three little words, W-U-T, and a question mark. What? What? And that was the look I saw. And that sign language lady was, what are you doing? What?
Coronavirus party? Are you guys insane?
Are you kidding?
Are you kidding me?
Mhm. So yeah, that was a breath of fresh air. I love what the Kentucky governor said.
Yeah.
I'm up here telling everybody to be calm, and now in a calm voice, I've got to tell you about this Corona party, where you could tell he wanted to go off to the camera.
Yeah.
Just saying, are you effing serious? Are you that stupid? You know?
Again, how do you make people realize this is not a game? This is the real deal. This is serious. We're up against something here. Yeah, some people just don't either care, or they think they're indestructible, or who knows what they're thinking.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a pretty small segment of the population, a
Seems
certain
like
age segment. Yeah. I mean, because like your daughter, she's got two sensible parents at home, and she's not, saying, well, I'm going to go throw a slumber party because, the hell with this. I'm tired of being cooped in. She's not going to do something like that.
No, but she's on the line, though. She does complain a lot about it. And like right now, I guess her school's trying to put together some kind of drive-in movie thing at one of the parking lots at the school. And I'm like, really?
That's cool.
Yeah, but what do people do with those things? They get out of their cars and they mingle and stuff. And is it really a smart idea?
True.
So I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know if I want to let her go or not. But so far, I haven't.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
It's just, you don't know.
Yeah. Well, if there's no getting out of the car allowed, I could kind of support that. Or you can roll down the window and talk to somebody 10 feet away. I can see that, but you're right.
Or you parked right next to someone, and it's more like 3 or 4 feet, and you rolled the windows down. It's it's a tough one.
And you get a parking lot full of cars full of 14, 15-year-olds. Oh, there's no way to keep them in that car.
Yeah.
They are getting out of the car.
Yeah.
So I can see what you're saying. Yeah. But anyway, no real bright news.
No.
Go ahead.
Just something I wanted to run by, see if you've heard anything about it. I got news from a pretty reliable source that Idaho, our northern neighbors, have shut down their interstate. Have you heard anything about this?
I did not hear this.
So
not a word.
This is what he's telling me. So this friend of mine works up in northern Utah in this job, and some of the workers come in from Idaho to work at this place. And he says that they have to carry paperwork because Idaho closed itself to interstate travel, and they get stopped at the state line.
Man, I'll have to look that up. I had not heard a word.
And the reason they're going to work is because their job has been declared critical to the infrastructure.
Man, that is news for me. That's something else.
Yeah, I haven't verified it, but it's a pretty reliable source, and that's pretty close to home here. That's pretty amazing that it's come to that.
That's what.
Already we're carrying paperwork. We kind of talked about paperwork a little bit on the last podcast, and we were kind of wondering, like, how the hell will that work, But I guess they've got paperwork from somewhere in order to get past the state line to get to work. Pretty wild.
Man. What a tricky thing there, too.
Yeah.
If it comes down to requiring paperwork, or Again, back in Nazi Germany, if you're a Jew on the street, you better have a work permit or you're going to jail, type of thing. But look at the other side of it. I mean, if paperwork is not required, then anybody in the world can say, "Oh, I'm only out because I'm going to the store to get baby formula and diapers." It's essential that I get these things for my son. He's at home starving. Mm-hmm. So anybody can say that. People with no kids can say that. So unless you have something issued from the state saying, yeah, that's another tricky one there.
I heard they're doing this in France from a reliable source. My wife has a cousin that lives over there, and they have to carry paperwork in order to go to the grocery store. I'm not sure how it works exactly. I didn't get any details, but I guess they're going through a lot of paper, and everyone that goes out has to have one. I guess they give you like so many trips. Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but yeah. So they're carrying paperwork in Idaho, and they're carrying paperwork in France. They're not carrying paperwork in Utah, as far as I know, at least not yet. But we do have that order in Salt Lake City where they're saying you're going to get fined if you're out for no good reason.
Yeah. We talked about it just a few moments ago. One of them said it's a $5,000 fine. I don't think it's here in America.
Well, New York City
I remember
says they're giving out, or Rogan said in New York City they're giving out $500 tickets if you're out just walking. 500. 500, yeah.
I saw that figure also. I couldn't remember where it was. It's serious stuff, and and again we talked about this in podcast recently that the biggest thing I worry about is, the middle of April gets here and we start pushing 75, 80 degrees, and all of a sudden cases drop and people recover, and we don't see any new cases for 3 months. And then October gets here and boom, it's worse than it is now. I mean, that's the big concern right now.
Yeah, that's huge. But and that's the virus concern, the virus crisis concern, the economic crisis concern is how are we going to go back to normal after all these businesses? A lot of them aren't going to make it through this shutdown that we're going through, and it's are we going to be able to return to normal? I guess they must have did it back in 1918. They got back to some sort of normalcy, and that was after a war and the Spanish flu. So I guess it's possible. Well, it's probably just going to take time, and it's not going to be pretty, but I think we'll get there.
Well, we have to. It's just it's the nature of life on the planet. The mutation will happen, and we get coronavirus, and then it does its damage, and it goes away, and then humans mutate too. That's how we came to where we are now.
Yeah.
You and I and we're all just a result of an endless series of mutations over the eons. And then, so we'll build immunity this one, and then 10 years from now, a new one comes out. COVID-20 comes out, and we're not ready for that one. So
well, that's the thing I hope. I hope we can learn from this and come out the other side better and more prepared, and hopefully with the UBI and Universal Health Services. I know that's a big dream, but why can't I dream big?
Well, there's a lot of people dreaming big just like you and me and Bernie.
Yep.
And Andrew Yang. And the thing is, this is just one more example of how it's got to happen at some point. It will happen.
It just makes sense. And if this doesn't point out how much sense it makes. I mean, this teen dying because he doesn't have insurance. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
When are we going to?
And the young lady.
Yeah.
The young lady, I heard this a week ago, is she went in for treatment for COVID-19. They saved her life. She spent a week in the hospital. Got a bill in the mail for $34,000.
Yeah.
And that crap has just got to stop.
It's got to stop.
And I'm holding out hope. I'm optimistic. Not only that it will happen, but we're not going to have mass protests in the street like in the Vietnam War and stuff like that. I mean, pretty much every other country in the world, every other advanced industrialized country, got their universal health services, and I think they average, like the people staying home in Italy, Denmark, Sweden, and all that, they're getting like 80% of their salary paid to them by the government. And if they need hospitalization, it's covered and all that. And they got all these things without having to go through major upheavals and revolution and seeing blood in the streets. And let's hope America is that smart, that we can do it too. We don't have to have mass disruptions in order to get what so obviously is needed.
Yeah. And one of the sad notes to come out of the last couple of days since our last podcast, one of the champions of, she supports Bernie. I was really, really pumped that she was in there fighting for us and fighting the progressive fight. And now it looks like she's bowing to the establishment. She's already, not supporting progressive candidates. She's not endorsing them. And she's, it's just really sad to hear. I hope, I mean, some of the comments were like, oh, this came from Politico. You can't trust anything they print. They're just trying to rile up the progressives so they're mad at her and so that they break us down, divide us and whatever. But
that is what happens.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, the Rational National and Jimmy Dore both are like, yep, it's AOC's doing this. It's it's just really sad to hear. But Christine Stenquist on our show not too long ago, she was like, yeah, politics is tough, man. It's tough to stay true to the things you came in with when you're faced with so much pressure from all sides once you get in. It's just amazing how fast they can break down, though. She was such a champion, such a fighter. I had such high hopes for her. To see this happen is just kind of sad. Anyway, so that's I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if that's sensationalism or if that's the truth. But it looks like, from where I'm sitting now, it looks like it's the truth. But we'll see. Maybe she'll make a comeback or something. I don't know.
Let's hope that
progressive candidates.
Let's hope she's not just looking out for her political career and bowing to the powers, the DNC powers. Let's hope it's not that until we see definitive proof that, like we see with so many other politicians, especially on the Republican side, but also the Democrat side. Let's hope. And let's hope that Bernie, long after he's dead and gone, let's hope that he still burns on, if you'll allow the pun. Here we had a guy who was not going to bow down to any powers, even the Democratic National Committee powers. He was not bowing down. He was sticking to his guns like he has for 30 years. He was staying true. He was not going to be swayed by corporate money or by lobbyist influence or the power structure, anything. Let's hope his name is remembered for a while.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like we're going to.
Yeah, well, who's gonna carry that torch on? It's like I hoped it was going to be AOC, but now it doesn't look like it's going to be her. But there are others out there. They're just not as they don't have as much of a spotlight on them as AOC does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
and we do have an Andrew Yang could be around politics for the next generation. He could be around for 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
And I think there's a chance that he won't bow down to, a lot of these things.
I'm just concerned. I'm concerned about any of these politicians that endorse Biden. That just makes me go, wait a second. Have you not been seeing the same videos that I've been seeing? Aren't you concerned even in the slightest that he's just not up for this job? I don't know, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like Yang a lot. I like Tulsi a lot. But Tulsi's made a couple bad choices too. But as far as I know, she hasn't bowed down to the system yet. But she's endorsing Biden, so maybe she has. I don't know. We'll just have to see how this all shakes out. But that's one of the reasons why Bernie is staying in, is to make sure that the message remains out there. Because imagine if Bernie dropped out of the race. They're not talking about universal health care anymore. They're not talking about UBIs anymore. Yeah. They're not talking about, college and forgiving student loan debt and all this. That'll all just go away.
That's a good point right there. That if Bernie drops out, in the next 2-3 months, then you're let me further echo. As soon as Bernie drops out, then Biden's no longer talking about universal health services. That's gone. That's done. And it was only about a week ago, and Kyle Flint did a little segment on Joe Biden and universal health services. And dude, I swear, I thought I was watching a segment of Fox News with Eric Bolling or something, because what Biden was saying was so obviously, I'm going to be vulgar here, but just messed up, just moronic and obviously wrong. And just the powers that be were speaking right through Biden, like they had their hand in a puppet. And this is what he was saying. And this was back when Italy still led the world in infections and deaths. America now leads the world in infections, but so it was only like a week ago, and Biden was being interviewed, and they brought up the subject of universal health care, and Biden says, "Well, see, that's not the answer. See, obviously it's not the answer, because look at Italy. They've got universal health care. It's not doing anything to stem the tide of this virus." And dude, my jaw hit the coffee table when I heard him say that's something that stupid, that idiotic, that's something that was so obviously scripted by people Biden needs to support him. And as when, Joe, you're right. It wouldn't have stopped the initial infections or the spread. You're absolutely right. But it's not. It's going to prevent millions of Italians from going bankrupt because they spend 10 days in the hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, what don't you see about this? What don't you understand? I couldn't believe it. And having heard Joe Biden say that, I will still vote for the guy if he's the nominee.
Mm-hmm.
To hold my nose, just like I did Hillary Clinton, hold my nose and vote.
Yeah, and Bernie said the same. Bernie said the same. He said he was gonna vote for the nomination. He says we got to defeat Trump above all else.
That's number one. It really is the number one thing. Yeah.
I don't know.
I really hope one of our friends doesn't challenge me with a certain question on. But what's so bad about the America of Trump that you hate so much? What's so bad about it? And I think we touched on this last podcast, and I've got to say, things that are going great for me, they were going great under Obama, under Bush, under Clinton. I've got specialized skills and I've made a comfortable living. Yeah, things are going great for me. So what is so bad about Trump? And that's where I have to get into personal viewpoints of a person. And personal viewpoints are trivial and irrelevant. I just don't like the guy. I don't like him. Now, if he cured cancer and, put some people on Mars and did these wonderful things and ended hunger and, brought peace to the Middle East, if he did some incredibly cool things for the world, then I could see myself voting for him. Mm-hmm. But, none of that's going to happen.
Well, what do you think about... What about this stimulus package? Is this $1,200 check that a lot of people will be getting? Is that an incredibly cool thing? I don't know if it's cool enough. I think maybe if it was 4, 5, 6 months, then maybe. And if a majority of people got it, but if just a handful of people get it and it's one time, I don't think it's going to be enough to be incredibly cool to sway an election necessarily.
We know it won't be enough. It might pay 1 month's rent.
Yeah.
Or it might help people put food on the table for a month or two. It might do this, small little dents in the armor here and there, maybe.
Yeah.
This was explained to me yesterday. I watched a clip. Why did they settle on the figure of $1,200, Angel? How do you think they figured on that one?
I have no idea.
Well, it was explained. Well, I should say one possible explanation is the following. The federal minimum wage, I believe, is $7.35 an hour. Yep. That's the minimum you have to pay for American citizens. I mean, farm workers make $4 an hour or whatever. So if you're making $7.35 an hour and you work full time, 40 hours a week, how much do you make a month? $1,161 a month, and that's before taxes. Now that seems to coincide pretty well with $1,200, doesn't it? A $1,200 payment. So the powers that be that are behind this stimulus really brought that one to the fore. And even the people making the minimum wage, $1,200 for them is really nothing. It's not going to do a damn thing for them. Now, if they were guaranteed to get $1,200 a month for the next 3 months, that still wouldn't do anything for them. You know, it's not going to really help. And I don't know. It was an interesting, I guess, coincidence that I heard that, you know, they want to give $1,200 and that's what you make a month if you make minimum wage. And now I wish I could remember the rest of the clip. And if I may once again bring his name up, it was Bo of the Fifth Column that sat there and told me, you know, that brought these parallels. And I went, whoa, wow, I didn't think of it. Yeah. How did they come up with a $1,200 figure? So it's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I hadn't heard that. That's fascinating. Yeah, I know Bernie's talking a lot about how the Republican senators were getting all bent out of shape about someone getting $600 more than from the stimulus package than they would if they would have worked those hours. And it's like, and then, you know, they're not going to want to go back to work. Why should they when they're making more?
Yeah,
you know, it's like, what? $600? That's a drop in anybody's bucket pretty much. I mean, like you say, that could maybe buy some groceries for a month, maybe two. That's it. I mean.
And don't you love when Republicans themselves come out and tell you what they think of their fellow Americans?
Yeah.
That they're just lazy. They're just looking for a way to go and be lazy and not work. That's what Americans want to do. And if you give them this much money, then they're just going to be bums on the street, or, you know, bums back in subsidized housing, living off of you and me. That's what they think of a fellow American. It's pathetic.
It's crazy. It's like they think they need to keep them scrapping and scraping for crumbs in order for society to function or something. I don't know.
Well, it's trickle down. You just said right there. Trickle down, we think of like rain down, but no, it's the crumbs. It's the crumbs from the Walmarts and the Amazons and the Exxons and the powers that be. Crumbs that trickle down and keep them fighting for it. Keep them hungry for them and do just enough to prevent them from protesting in the streets. And man, I don't know how long they can keep this up. But
that's the question, isn't it? How long can they keep it up? I mean, on the one hand, it looks like, from one perspective, not very much longer. There's a lot of people losing their jobs. Unemployment claims have soared to 3.3 million, I can't say that word, quadrupling record from 1982, which surprised me.
1982.
As layoffs
right.
from coronavirus engulfed the economy. So 82, I was in high school in 82. I remember there kind of being a recession. I think that was that Reagan's first term?
Yeah, he took office in January of 81. He won the 80 election, took office in 81. And and that is right when trickle down started.
That surprised me. I really thought the unemployment record would have been in 08, 09.
Oh, you mean 1988 or 08, 09?
2008 and 2009, because that's when we talk about we were bleeding jobs when Obama came into office, 70,000 a month. We were losing them, and that's kind of in one of our other podcasts. We compared this to that, but I've never heard it compared to 1982, where the record actually was until now.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, until I saw that same headline or graph that you saw. I didn't know that was the record for a weekly. It was a 1 week segment where like 388,000 people filed for unemployment claims. And then we just 10 times. It was like 3.2 million last week, something like that. It's a huge number. I'm getting the facts or the figures off there, but yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, I don't know what that 3.3 million pertains to, but it's not
the number of jobless claims.
Yeah, I guess that's total claims, maybe in a week. I don't know. I don't know if it's a week, a day, or if it's since the coronavirus hit. But whatever they're comparing it to, that record from '82, we've quadrupled it. So So how long can they keep this going? Because on the other hand, I see they're building a lot of new houses around my area these days, and they're getting snatched up before they even complete them. These houses are not cheap houses. They're they're at least 200,000 plus houses, just going like hotcakes. So someone's got money to be buying houses and putting down payments on them and all of that. So on the other hand, maybe things aren't as bad as it looks. I don't know. I just don't know what's going on.
Well, I agree. They're not as bad as they look. But please remember, you and I have not been personally affected, and our families have not been personally affected by this horrible disease. They're not as bad as we might feel they are, but we've still got to do our part. And that makes it feel bad. That makes it seem really bad. Mm-hmm. But it's not as bad as it seems. Conga Joe, he and I went golfing on Sunday, and prior to, we started talking about his business. You know, he owns that plumbing business, you know, faucets and fixtures and toilets and things like that. And he says he has not seen one dip at all.
Okay.
The Salt Lake Airport is still going gangbusters. And you look around, and I look at the live feed of Key West down there on Duval Street and Green Street, that intersection. They're putting in new curb and sidewalk and gutter and everything. I figured they might as well do it now while there's no tourists in the way to cause the problem. So, yeah, construction is still happening. The trucks are still rolling. Supply lines are still here, except toilet paper. Well, at Target yesterday, there was no toilet paper.
Who's benefiting from this? The toilet paper manufacturers, the people that manufacture those clear plastic sneeze plates. They've got all new sneeze plates up in Costco. I guess Smith's is getting their sneeze plates in very soon. Because those guys are like front line, you know, because they're critical infrastructure. They got to stay open. You know, so two Joe salutes to all those people that work Costco, supermarkets, gas stations, you know, that got to stay open through this because they're critical.
Yeah.
And they don't get paid like they're critical, do they?
No, yeah. See, there's another thing that Bo at a Fifth Column was saying was this $1,200 payment is essentially what a minimum wage worker makes in a month. And now are we starting to see how valuable these people are? These are jobs that have to be done during a pandemic or not. These jobs have to be done. So I don't know. Hopefully there will be some positive change out of this.
You hope that. I hope that. Bernie hopes that. Let's put a brave face on it and go forward with what we want the change we want to see. You know, let's advocate strongly for it, put it out there, and let's see if we can make something happen out of this. Say, Mojo, I hate to wrap this up early, but I've kind of got a split. I've got someone that needs my care, and
understood.
So that doesn't hurt to do a little bit shorter one today. I didn't have a lot of notes. I pretty much covered all the notes I did have. So you got any last thoughts you want to share or questions you want to ask before we wrap this up?
Not really, Joe. Give us a blast of music, and I'll try to do my best on an outro here.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Until next time.
Until next time. Thank you again for joining Two Joe's podcast. It's a pleasure speaking with you. And we'll hopefully see you on Thursday night with some further glimmers of hope. Once again, thanks for joining. We'll see you soon.